and out into Facebook land. So hi guys, how are you guys doing today? I'm excited for today's topic because I've been seeing a lot of people posting things about grounding, remembering to ground. With all the energy that's moving on a planetary basis, sometimes we forget to ground, or sometimes we forget to really check in to make sure we're grounded. And so recently, my team has been giving me some different grounding techniques because not all of us are good at grounding the same way. And we're all at different frequencies and vibrations. So sometimes we need a little extra help. So that's what we're here for. So hello, Christine. Good morning to you. Glad to see you, have you in the house. Really been loving all of your paintings that you've been doing. They've just been breathtaking. I'm so excited to see them every time you post a new one. So thank you for sharing with us so we can experience that with you. Good morning, Robin. Glad to have you. Welcome to the welcome to the show. Lindsay June post a notification popped up for your video, and you said, "Oh, I probably need this." Yeah, it's about grounding, sweetheart. You can imagine you might need this. Hi, Neshi. Glad to have you in the house. So when Neshi's in the house, it reminds me to say, hey guys, could you help me get this out in Facebook land? Help it reach other people who might need some healing or assistance by loving it and sharing it on your page or to a group or a friend that you know who could maybe use it. And maybe you know a few people who could use a little multidimensional grounding because the traditional stuff maybe isn't working so well. And that's what happens because we're on an ever-changing energy body of the earth. And because of that, you know, we've got to adapt. And sometimes we, you know, get stubborn and like to do it the hard way. That's the nice way of my team saying, you know, we sometimes do it ad nauseum one way because it used to work. It doesn't work for us anymore. So why do we need grounding in the first place? I have a number of people who ask me that, believe it or not. And, you know, because it can feel pretty good to be ungrounded sometimes. You can feel on an energy high. You can feel freer sometimes. But in that place, you're disconnected from your physical body and what your physical body needs. And also, you often aren't focused on really what needs to happen for you. And often in the very ungrounded place, we can't hear our intuition very well. So you may feel floaty when we're ungrounded, but we're not listening to our highest source when we're ungrounded. So getting ourselves connected to our physical body, we can still keep our chakras beautifully wide open to have that sense of connection with the divine, but we don't have to leave our bodies to do it. And that is a practice that comes up repeatedly with students, with clients, with just everyday healers. Like they're having trouble with different parts of their practice. They'll call me or have some business coaching, and it's like, you don't feel like you're fully in your body. And if you're not fully in your body, you're not using all of your senses, including your intuition, to guide you. You're just using a couple. So that can be very difficult. So yeah, here we are. So, you know, the traditional way that a lot of people use to ground is to think of the root chakra or the tailbone to extend downwards, either down like from the tailbone down like a cord, like you're extending your spine into the ground. Some people will imagine it going through both legs. And often we do things like open roots beneath our feet. So we visualize these really deep tree roots to help us dig our energy into the earth, feeling it spread, deepen, and connect. And that works when we are in our body. So if we're already in our body and that's working, great. But most people who are trying to ground aren't actually in there quite yet. That's where the problem comes in. Sometimes just by focusing on their root chakra and creating that ground, boom, then they're in. But some of you who have really strong artistic tendencies, yeah, you might have more trouble grounding, right? And there's times you don't want to be, right? Because being in the flow sometimes feels a little disconnected, or can feel disconnected. So here are a couple things. The other thing that, people have used to ground is, to rub your feet on the floor, to rub your hands together, to focus on feeling your bones in your body, the weight of gravity pushing down on you, and also going outside in nature. For a lot of people, walking on the grass, especially barefoot, can really help, or the beach. And you can also lean against a tree, like sit against a tree so that your whole spine is connected to the tree. I mean, that works no matter whether you're grounded or not. But those of us who live in, climates where going outside all the time just doesn't happen. We start heading into the winter months, or it's rainy season and it's muddy. We're not necessarily going to go sit outside with our back against a tree, even though we might want to desperately. And I know some of you are going to put a rain poncho on or all your heaviest winter stuff and do that. But I've heard weather be an excuse for a lot of people not to ground. Well, I can't really get outside. So what do we do? How do we get around that? How do we, look at this? And part of the difficulty is, as light workers, because many of us are, our energy body is going through multiple dimensions where, we're very connected to the earth plane, but we're sort of raising our frequency to match more of the fourth or the fifth dimension. And so energetically, we're maybe a little bit farther away from where the earth's vibration is at this moment. So one of the things that my team has been talking about recently is that, we can always ground from our heart. And if we're having trouble with a lot of grief or a lot of sadness where our heart chakra feels a little wobbly, we can always use our high heart to ground us. And the way I see that and experience it energetically is the heart makes a cord of connection that goes from the high heart, and it like threads through. It goes through the heart chakra, through the solar plexus, through the sacral chakra, through the root chakra, and then all the way down. So it's like, come on, guys, I'm going to take all of you. All of us are going to work together as a team. It's like beads on a string. And so it's going down the Hara line. It's going down our crystalline tube, but it's connecting all of the chakras on the way down into the ground. And then for those of you who are super artistic, you might even want to start with the crown chakra and connecting it to the third eye and the throat and the heart and the solar plexus, the sacral, and the root chakra down. So it's, in the past, we would ground just our root chakra, which is, the big toe of our survival body. But as we start to move multidimensionally, having one chakra try to ground us sometimes isn't enough, especially if your secondary or tertiary chakras are activated. So, you've got somebody like me who has 154 chakras active at the moment. The thought of just using one to hold me in place seems a little silly, right? I have 153 that could be shaking me loose. So by really calling in the high heart, which is one of the soul chakras, and inviting that to be the anchor, that can be much more effective. And for those of you who are seers in terms of color, that's the high heart is often for people sort of a magenta pink color. So, if you think of Valentine's Day and those really pretty pink hearts, that's the high heart. So sending the pink, threading it through your chakras can be extremely helpful. And that allows us, when we're using our soul chakras aren't bound to just this dimension and just this earth frequency. And so because of that, it can work wherever we tend to be hanging out. So if you happen to be hanging out a little more in the fourth or the fifth dimension, it's like it connects to our physical survival body chakras, so that all of our energy is at least, it's not getting pulled apart. It's being held together, kind of like stitching it together, if that makes sense. So we're going to do a little clearing too. So that is one of the easiest techniques that my team has been talking about lately, is linking the chakras together. You can imagine it, you can visualize it, and ask for that. The other one is inviting the divine feminine or grandmother earth to come up to us. Now, that can be a little tricky for some people. That works really well if you understand that you're calling the divine feminine up to hold you. So the divine masculine flows from the top down, and the divine feminine comes from the bottom up. So if you're trying to ground only in the divine masculine and that's not totally working, well, then you can call grandmother earth to come up, or the divine feminine to come up and hold you from the bottom. It's kind of like, if you were a cheerleader, and I was back in the day, and so, you would stand on somebody's shoulders, right? And so here you are up in the air, but when you're standing on their shoulders, they're holding your ankles, you're secure, right? And so that is you can sort of imagine grandmother earth sort of like holding you on her shoulders. And that works really well if you can hold on to that vision. I've noticed that people who have a strong belief in hell being below our feet, or hell being inside the earth in some sort of fashion, sometimes they have a little trouble calling up energy below their feet because they're worried that it's bad energy. Just on a side note, that part of that is part of that mythology came through as a way to disconnect people from the earth religions in the first place. So by having people believe that heaven was below you, and in that fashion, it was, people could interpret it as the earth, the inside of the earth. being part of hell in a way. It stopped people from calling the divine earth energy, the divine feminine, up because they were worried that it was bad. And so that's part of why that's happened. So I see a couple people joined us too. Hi, Marie. Good to have you in the house. Can't wait to see you next week. And Barbie, hello, welcome to the show. Glad to have you on board. So we can call in the divine feminine. So the divine feminine, the divine masculine energy divine masculine runs down, the divine feminine runs up, and they kind of meet each other and then they loop back. You know, they work together. And if you need a visual, it makes sense that we do grandfather sky, grandmother earth. And so when the sky energy comes in and it centers in our core, in the center of our being or our soul point, then you can call in the grandmother earth or the divine feminine to also meet in the middle. So you are holding both heaven and earth within you in harmony and balance. And for those of you who watched my show last Wednesday, that theme just kept coming up over and over and over again about being in balance between the masculine and feminine, being balanced in heaven and earth, creating harmony inside of your physical and your spiritual life. It just kept coming. Oh, hello, Joe. Nice to have you. Glad you are here. Enjoy the show. We're talking about how to ground our energy in all the multidimensional frequencies so that we can stay fully present and actually get stuff done. Help us focus. So again, you know, why ground? And you know, for those of you who you get an idea in your head and it starts, you know, spinning, like what if and what if and what if and maybe and could be and should be, you notice that you start to have these cyclical thought patterns. Now, if we're grounded, generally the cycle stops. And you have the thought and that the energy keeps going forward. So it makes room for the answer to your question to come in. When we are ungrounded, the question spins inside of itself, on side of itself, connected to itself. I can see it, but words are always hard when I'm channeling. So the energy comes back like a boomerang. And it's unresolved. But when we're grounded, it opens that thought circuit and makes room for an answer to come in. It makes room for intuition to come in. It makes room for inspiration to come in. So for those of you artists who are like, why would I want to be grounded? Because you want space for divine inspiration to strike. And it can only happen when you're fully in your body, when you're fully embodied in your energy system. So Christine saying, the sisters will be glad to hear I watched this show. Thank you. You're welcome. Yes, that makes sense. A non-constructive cycle, right? Because that's what it's doing. It's distracting you. My team was showing me a number of ways in the past week how even I get ungrounded at times, especially when I start. I have a lot of travel coming up soon. In the month of October, I am away from my home more than I'm at home. And so there's a part of me that was, you know, has been, okay, how do I organize this? How do I plan this so that number one, I stay in the flow, even though I'm not home. Number two, I am able to travel with ease and grace. And number 3, I don't get caught up in anybody else's stress, because it's really easy when we travel to feel, we've all been in big airports, or most of us have. And so when we go into an airport, other people may be rushing because, their plane was late, or, they've got to go to the bathroom, or they're trying to eat. And it's like people are in this very disjointed, ungrounded energy where they're running around. And to stay fully present and aware can be difficult because you can get caught in their energy. And we know how this happens, right? Now she's saying all in divine timing. Yes, exactly. And isn't that hard sometimes to hold on to? I had a client this morning before the show who, she's excited and she's eager to get started, and I could hear it. And, it's like a kid waiting for Christmas. You're super excited and you want it to happen. And so you're in the future. You're not in this moment. And when that happens, you get impatient, you get cranky, and then you start to resent the fact that you have to wait. And all of that is pulling the joy out of what you're excited about. But on top of that, it's stretching the energy. So it's not in the now, it's in the future, which is connected to the now. And so you're missing the energy here. So it's taking your energy right here, right now, and it's pulling it into the future. So even if you've only got 20% of you thinking about what's to come, that means you're only operating on 80% of your energy right now. So you've only got 80% of your energy to co-create with the divine. Now, what happens if you're thinking about 2 or 3 or 4 projects that are out in the future? Boom, 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 boom. Now you've only got 20% of your energy in the here and now. So how fast do you think you are able to manifest or create if you've only got 20%? And if that 20% isn't grounded, then nothing's happening. And you're frustrated and it feels like everything's on slow motion, right? So this is about, to ground our energy, we're calling all of our energy home. We're calling all of our energy into the present moment so we can use it, so we can really push forward in our soul's journey. And all of those tasks that we have to do sort of fall over and get taken care of. Often in the morning, I'll make a list of things that I would like to get accomplished during the day. And once I ground that list onto paper, first of all, I give myself permission not to do the whole list, because it's my ego brain who's like, oh, and this, oh, and this, oh, and this, but it might not all really need to happen today. So I check in on what needs to happen today, what can wait for tomorrow, what can somebody else do for me? And how many times when you create that list, it's like, okay, call so-and-so to check in with them about this. And next thing you know, you have a quick break and the phone rings and it's them. Faster than you could have even called them, right? That happens when we're really grounded and we're really connected, because our team knows what our list is and they're helping us have it flow together seamlessly. Yeah, so Joe is saying that's a good idea. I've tried this and it works. I just need to remember to do it, right? That's the key. Me too. And I find that when I'm working independently, I'm better at that. When I'm working with a group of people and they have expectations from me, I'm not as good at creating that grounded list when they're with me. I'm much better if I do it first thing in the morning with my spiritual team, and then just sort of lay down, this is what's happening today. Because we've all got our own agenda. We've got our own energy that we want to take care of. But again, it won't happen if we're not grounded. So the other thing that comes in a lot about helping us ground in a multidimensional fashion is some of us have a lot of star energy. We're very connected to the stars, the star people, or we feel very affiliated with a particular star or a star cluster. We're very connected to the moon or the moonlight. So one of the things we need to remember in terms of grounding is that our heart line and our crystalline tube, however you have been taught that, it goes above us and below us. So grounding to the earth plane is very important, but sometimes we also need to ground above us. And so that the whole cord is connected and our energy can slide up and down this cord to be able to use all of our energy. So the way I see that is that I connect my soul point to the earth, and I connect my soul point to the center of the divine. So some people see that as the center of creation or original creation energy. They can see it connecting to heaven. Whatever feels like the central point of existence, you can connect to that and to the earth plane. So the way you connected your heart down, through each of your chakras down into the earth plane. I use my soul point, which is right beneath there's the solar plexus, and then there's your soul point, which is connected to your higher self. So it's like the umbilical cord to the universe, and I connect my umbilical cord. I reinforce it with the divine masculine and the center of the universe, as well as the center of the earth into the center of creation that is held within the earth plane. So it's like pulling it tight. And then I'm very connected. And it allows me, because of the work that I do, I can do my work in whatever dimension I need to do the work in, and still be very present in this plane and very much in this now. I am not sliding there and losing sense of self or sense of time. It allows me to be energetically in all of my energy. Does that make sense? So you're calling in all the energy you can from above and all the energy you can from below. So you're really tapped into as much energy flow as is possible for your strand or our strand of energy. And the way my team shows me that is that we're each a strand in the tapestry of the divine. So we want our strand to be fully active. And when we're not grounded, it's like two ends aren't connected and it's kind of shriveled up. And the difference between a rubber band that's pulled tightly and a rubber band that is, just sort of laying there. And when it's nice and taut, it is able to stay in a straight line. It's able to stay in focus. I hope that's making sense. Sometimes when the channeled energy comes through and they're speaking through and I'm translating, the words can get a little caught. The English words can get a little caught. So another thing that we can use that a lot of people forget is to use our 5 senses to stay grounded. And that is a technique I use a lot with people who are having difficulty with anxiety or overwhelm. Because when we ask all the 5 senses to get back into the present moment, the anxiety and the overwhelm and the stress, they all start to dissolve. So how do they dissolve? It's because our attention is focused on something else. So in that focusing on something else, you can, when you feel that kind of agitated or anxious or nervous or worry start to come in, people always say to breathe. Well, terrific. That can happen, but not always easily. But if you tell people, like, take a deep breath and tell me what you smell. So you might smell your shampoo. You might smell food cooking. You might smell grass if you're outside. You might smell your deodorant, or you might smell essential oils or perfume. You might smell your coffee or your tea. So first, by taking in a deep breath to see what you smell, first of all, when we're trying to smell, sometimes we breathe in deeper because we're not just taking air in, but we're trying to determine something. Our logical brain is thinking about what that smell is like. It's different than just taking a deep breath. And think about it when you smell a flower. How deep do you breathe when you smell in a rose, right? So really, it's really different. Sorry, Joe just posted something and I want to make sure to talk about it. I'm having CBD for anxiety and depression, but it feels okay, but not as good as knowing this and feeling your true earning, as in spirit-wise, if you get what I mean. Yes. Yeah, the CBD oils are good for getting you back on an even keel. And that's also true for like anxiety medication and things like that. I'm not saying not to use that. I've had to use those myself in the past, but those are meant to get you back onto like an even keel. When you're here all the time, we want to get you so that your bubble is a little bit smaller. And sometimes using, I'm a big person for essential oils in particular, but whether we use medication or CBD oil or essential oils, whatever, we want to get ourselves back to here, because that's when the techniques work. When we're in full-blown panic attack, I can tell you to smell something and that may or may not work. CBT is in therapy. Oh, okay. Yes. Sorry about that. The EFT works really well for it too. EMDR, those are all things that are great for it as well. CBD oil is just a big thing around here in Massachusetts. That it's everywhere. It just keeps coming up everywhere. The difficulty is that it's good to train our body what we want it to do, our energy body, to remind it how to do things. And so we can smell things, we can look at things, we can take a drink, which I'm going to do because I felt the tickle in the back of my throat. So if somebody, if you're having an anxious moment or nervous or whatever, stressed out, you focus on, okay, what are 5 green things in my room? So I'm somebody who loves green. You can tell by my wall. But I have a green chair and I have a green curtain, and I have green on the wall, and I have green on one of my books, and I have a green pen. All of those things are having me look around the room and see and be in this moment. So you can look for things, you can smell things, you can taste things, you can listen, like what are you hearing? And you may be hearing the birds outside, you may be hearing construction or the rain, and all of that, or the hum of the computer. And all of that is getting your energy grounded in this moment. So sometimes, if we can't think of how to ground our energy, we just go back to our basic senses. We do that first, and that starts bringing our energy into this moment. And once we're in this moment, we can start using the grounding techniques. Yes. So it is a type of therapy. Joe is saying it's a type of therapy that he's done. But I've seen it. I know you said it's for a car accident, that you had it for a car accident. I've heard of it for trauma healing, which is the same thing for EFT or EMDR. They help sort of ground the brain in the present moment so that it releases the energy from the past that might be lingering in the now. Does that make sense? So as I said, I'm a big, advocate for using all of your senses to get yourself started, to use the grounding techniques of connecting to the earth. If you need to also connect to the central sun or the center of creation, however you see that. So in terms of, what has my team done to channel help for grounding? And through the healing blends that I have, the grounding blend, I know you can't really read that. It's like white, but trust me, it says grounding blend. So the grounding blend is, it's actually got newly updated. It's something that you can smell. It's something that you can put on. And it helps your energy remember how to connect. So that's one of those things that it starts to bring you back in your body. I love using the blends that my team has channeled because generally it starts to kick in less than a minute. So people can feel it quickly. I use the grounding blend a lot when we're doing big events, or we're at, if my team and I are at like a healing expo or, a fair of some sort where there's a lot of people and a lot of energy. People are so ungrounded. And so it's often like, here, smell this. Tell me what you think. We don't spray it on people though. We think about it, but we never do that because we wouldn't want to invade somebody's space, but it helps pull them back in their body. For those of us who are really doing big work, or who want, if we're a hands-on healer, and we really want to have not only be grounded, but have our flow be as open as possible. Archangel Metatron, that is who's the dude that helps with this most. Who's the archangel that helps with this most? And a lot of you, you will call in the angels when you need help. So asking Archangel Metatron to come in is huge because his energy is connected to sacred geometry. It's connected to the Kabbalah. And it is a remembrance of how to be as fully in our flow as possible. And so I do have that blend as well. This is sort of extra grounding. Grounding blend keeps you connected. The Metatron blend keeps you grounded and open. And sometimes we don't want to be grounded and open. If we are in, at O'Hare or Airport in Chicago, and there's, thousands of people there with us, we don't necessarily want to be wide open, but we want to be grounded. So, but when we're doing our healing work, we might want to be grounded and fully open. So they have a slightly different function. So those are the main key things. Feel like there's one more thing, but that's what they keep telling me. So great. If you can connect just your root to the earth and allow that to anchor you and hold you, use that. If you have time to get outside in nature and walk around barefoot, do that. If you have time to sit against a tree and let the tree ground you, or not really do it for you, but teach you, remind you how to do it too, then do that. Because really, we all know how to be grounded in our fullest, highest self. But here, where our energy gets stretched into the past, we're focused on, we had a car accident, and that energy keeps spinning in us in now. We're pulled backwards. And if we're worried about what we've got to do tomorrow, we're pulled forwards. And so our energy is stretched out. When we're stretched out, again, we don't have as much energy flow because it's not all here with us. So, of course, Brandy, let's get you grounded, and that will help your energy get you nice and lifted up. So all of those things can work. Using the essential oils can work. Anything that has a tree in it will help you ground. That's sort of like that base, when in doubt, if it's got a tree, it's going to help you out. And then the other thing that really helps people who are having a lot of difficulty is remember that anything that came out of the ground that you eat, that will also help you because it's got a lot of nutrients that are connected to the earth. So things like potatoes and carrots and onions that, turnips and things that are underneath the ground, they're called root vegetables for a reason. They root us. And it's because they know how to have roots, right? They're connected that way too. So anything that grows under the ground, that will also help ground our energy when we eat it. And it's why there's times when we feel called to that. We want that, in our body because it helps us feel more connected to the present moment. Let's get our meditation on. Let's do a nice multidimensional grounding meditation so that you guys can feel the difference between right now. I've been talking a lot and sharing knowledge, which is great, but let's feel it in practice, okay? So take a couple of really deep breaths if you can. And as you're doing that, you can notice what smells you're smelling around you. And let's take one more nice deep breath. And let's focus on the high heart for a moment, right above the heart in the middle of the sternum. And you can sense that as a bright fuchsia pink color. And we're going to ask the high heart to connect us deep within the earth's energy so that we are as deeply connected to the divine feminine and grandmother earth as we can be. So allowing that to go from our heart through our heart chakra itself, that green color, and the cord to go through our solar plexus just below the rib cage, moving down through our sacral chakra, that one below the belly button, that's orange. And now through the root chakra at the base of the tailbone, that's red. And allowing that cord to go down our legs and feet and all the way down into the earth. And feel as it drills down through all the layers of rock and earth and crystal, going miles and miles and miles to the very molten lava center, to the very core of the earth's being. And you can imagine that cord getting wrapped around something sturdy like a giant anchor or a big bone or a crystal or a rock. Or maybe even anchoring within the core, like a giant prong. And just take a moment to feel your energy right this moment. How grounded you feel, how connected you feel to the present moment, how heavy your body feels. Now we're going to take our soul point, which is in the center of our body, just above the belly button, in between the second and third chakras. It's a very bright white light. That central gateway. And we're going to ask the central gateway of our soul to connect us even deeper within the earth, to the divine feminine, and all of that flow. And then asking that gateway to also connect us to the center of creation. You may feel that as the soul star or heaven, the center of the universe. And that soul point, that soul gateway helps our crown connect even more grounded to the energy of the divine masculine above. So feel the energy beneath your feet. Feel the energy above your head. Notice the flow of energy in the rest of your body, from your tailbone to your head. And we're going to call all of our energy back into the present moment, releasing all energy from the past. It will still be there when we need it. But right now we're focused on our energy here and now. So we can see and experience the difference. And we're going to call back any energy that is in the future, worrying about what we need to do or who we need to be. And again, calling all of our energy home. So now take a moment to feel your energy once more. Feel it at the top of your head. Feel it at your feet. Feel it in between. Notice if there are any places where your body is sore or tight. And ask the divine energy to flow and dissolve whatever is congested. And now we're just going to take a couple of deep breaths. And with each breath, we're going to gently allow the meditation to dissolve, but for the grounding to hold. Take one more deep breath. All right. So Joe, glad you are asking about the smells to ground. Do you have a follow button? Now I've got to remember, Neshi taught me this. There are 3 dots in the upper right hand corner of your screen, I believe. And in there, you, if you like my page, then you can also do that, and oh, sorry about that. That you can like my page, and then you can from there follow my show. So I believe that's where it's located. And if I'm incorrect, Neshi, if you could type in the correct response to that. But I think that's right. You want the 3 dots. Actually, for you, the right-hand corner is over here. The 3 dots over here, whether it's on your phone or on your laptop, to do that. But yes, you can follow. And so this show is every Tuesday at noon Eastern Standard Time. And I also have a show tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is called Soul Connections. And on that show, I do the healing meditation for whatever you need to move and release in your life. And I also pull cards, divination cards, and channel messages for you on what is coming up for you in the weeks to come. So I wanted to give a shout out to Star Nations Academy, because I will be teaching there next weekend in Tomah, Wisconsin, on Friday night through Sunday, the 11th through the 13th. It's all about how to empower yourself, how healing our core wounds so that we can stand more in our being. And we do still have a few spots left. So if it's something that you're interested in, please think about that, because it's an amazing weekend where a lot gets shifted, a lot gets moved. And because of that, you have all this extra energy for brand new, wonderful things to enter your life. So that's really excited. I am not sure what the difference is, Joe, between the time here and the UK. I think we're about 5 hours different, if I'm not mistaken. But if you follow it, it usually will tell you what time it is in your area. And if not, I would say, hey, Google the time converter, but it's Eastern Standard Time is where I am. Oh, so Roberta's saying, excellent meditation, and I always perfect timing. Oh, I love your hair even better live. Oh, thanks. Yeah, she did a great job doing all sorts of fun colors. I'm enjoying all the shades, and it's called Gallet. The colors are called Galaxy, and boy, doesn't that suit me. And I'm just going to put Neshi's instructions on how to follow and like. Depends if you're on a phone or laptop. Click the bell icon and be sure to like. On the cell phone, it's the 3 horizontal dots. Click like, click following, see first, and slide get notifications. So that is a color blue. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. I'm not the most technically savvy when I'm in channel mode. I forget all of my technology things that I'm supposed to do. I'm pretty lucky that I remember to click the buttons for what we're doing. So feel free if if anybody would like to come visit us and join us for the healing weekend and the empowerment weekend at Star Nations next weekend. I'll be excited to do that. I'm really looking forward to going out to Star Nations Academy again and being able to share what my soul's mission, which is to heal the healers. And so that's really important to me. If you're interested in any of the oil blends, you can go to Trinity Healing Sanctuaries.com, and that's where you can find all of the stuff that I mentioned. And one of the things that keeps coming up is the more we can focus on the present moment, the more change we can create on our planet. And we can complain about things that are going wrong and things that we don't like, but real change happens when we're here, and we take action. And so to do that, we need to be grounded, we need to be focused, and in our fullest and highest flow, because that's when things unfold easily and gracefully. And so if you, have more work you want to do on yourself, I encourage you to join us tomorrow night. But I'll be back on Tuesday here at noon. And who knows? I know my team's been talking a lot about more, rather than just the basic chakras, it's been talking about our multidimensional energy system, about our soul chakras, about our secondary chakras and our tertiary chakras and what they do for our energy body. And all of this is really coming up at a time when our energy is stretching to be in a fuller state, to be in our heart, to be in a heart-centered place. And so thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. And if you need any assistance, you can always message me through the page, and I will be happy to help you out. And Neshi's got my information on my website for my services, as well as my products. And with that, you guys, I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. And I will see you either tomorrow or next week here on Chakra Sessions. Bye, guys. Have a great one.